Talking Shirts is presented in partnership with White Oak Cottage. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Hello, welcome. This is episode number 154 of Talking Shirts. I'm Mike of Hull KR Shirts, and today we're going to take a look at this 1993-1994 away shirt. Now, the design of the shirt that's on the mannequin today actually spanned 2 seasons. So for the 1992-1993 season, we had this design, and then we had it again in 1993-1994. However, there were some subtle differences between the two. The most obvious is the front of shirt sponsor. The word John Smith's, or the word Mark John Smith, should I say, features on this 1993-1994 version, but the 1992 to 1993 version, that featured Riding Bitter. Another couple of changes as well. We've got the Match Winner logo. They must have updated their branding at some point during that 1993 era, because in the 1992 season, the Match Winner logo was different to that featured on this one here in 1993-1994. I will pop some pictures up of the change there for you so you can kind of see what that looks like. So that's how I've been able to identify that this shirt is actually from the 1993-1994 season. And when you think about it, it's quite obvious that these things, obviously the Match Winner logo is something that might go under the radar a little bit, but the word mark for John Smith's and Riding Bitter, obviously, it is very different and is quite easy to notice. I'm fortunate enough to have a replica with the Riding Bitter sponsor on. I don't have a player spec version of that one, so that is something that I'm on the lookout for. However, very fortunate enough to add this John Smith's version from 93-94 into the collection. A little shout out before we start goes to Bazza Kingston. Bazza reached out to me. A friend of his had this available, and I think it was something that he was going to purchase, but it turns out that he kind of only wanted a representation of the shirt, i.e. a replica, something that he could wear. So we did actually manage to strike a deal where I was able to purchase this off his friend, and Bazza was able to purchase the replica version from me. So everyone was an absolute winner. I upgraded the shirt within my collection. Bazza got something that he wanted and that he could wear, and his mate got a nice little bit of cash as well. So everything worked out in for everybody's favour there. So yeah, again, Bazza, thank you very much for that. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the shirt. So it's very much, it's out there, very, very out there in terms of its design. We did actually cover in a very early episode of Talking Shirts, I'm not quite sure what the number is off the top of my head, but I actually did cover both of the 92-93 and the 93-94 replica shirts in an episode of Talking Shirts. I don't know if I'd quite dare go back, and watch that, because I think the way that I'd like to think that the presentation around episodes of Talking Shirts, a little bit around the presentation for myself and my confidence as well, has certainly grown since those early days. So yeah, I'm not quite going to go watch back on that, but if anybody wants to go back and check it out, then feel free. You can give me some feedback and some tips on things that I've maybe got better at, or things that I could improve even further. Always open to that level of feedback too. But yeah, the design here, yeah, it's very out there. We've got some bold colours, obviously that royal blue, the orange, and that sort of dark green there as well. 3 colours that I wouldn't necessarily say they complement each other, but they all boom off that white, and they do actually work well in the sense of the design of the shirt. One of the sort of main criticisms, other than the fact that people don't usually like it, that I've had people say about this shirt is the fact that it almost looks like it's unfinished. Obviously, the way the design goes around the bottom there, you've kind of got this white panel at the bottom of the shirt, which kind of looks like the design should just continue all the way down. I'm guessing if this was played in and it had a pair of shorts on and the shirt was tucked in, you probably wouldn't notice it so much, but you can definitely see with this one how somebody would definitely think that. On here, the club crest, it's actually been embroidered on the replica shirts. It is all just dye sublimated in. So it's a nice sort of welcome addition to see an embroidered shirt featuring on a player spec shirt. We're kind of the other way around now. We'll have an embroidered shirt on a replica, but not on a player spec. But at this stage in the early 90s, it was actually the other way around. As you can see, we have got a lovely turnover collar, something that we don't see too much of in the modern day, although it is kind of creeping back in a little bit. We played against the Brisbane Broncos in the World Club Challenge in 2026, and in that game, Brisbane had a very sort of floaty collar. Something that, did actually, well, to me, it looked like it could easily provide quite a lot of support if an opposing player was going to try and grab on that for sort of extra traction. And you can kind of see here, these it's kind of just going to give somebody something to grab onto. Within the placket as well, there is just the one button left, and that's the one at the top here. It's a little bit too tight on the mannequin for me to be able to fasten it, but that button is still intact. But the other two, which would have fastened, they're no longer there, and that's probably got something to do with game damage, and that being pulled at during a game. Those probably would have lasted 5 minutes. We've got other elements of reinforced stitching going around here. You could just see these orange stitch marks there. That is an element of reinforced stitching to try and sort of ensure that the collar doesn't rip. On this one here, it hasn't, which is really, really good. And then talking of that reinforced stitching, we have got this rectangle here. Again, another telltale sign of a shirt being player specification and not necessarily just a standard replica. Something that I really like on these match winner shirts as well is the match winner branding, which features in this hem all the way around here. Quite a bit of damage to this one, but yeah, just a nice little sort of finishing touch to a jersey, something which is really, really impactful. Let's have a look at the sides. We'll look at both of these. Even though they are the same, they're slightly different because of the wear and tear to them. So on these shirts in the early 90s, Hull KR actually applied squad numbers to the sleeves. It wasn't done on all of the shirts, and it wasn't done in every season, but it was just something that I found really, really interesting. Out of the 200 plus shirts that I've got that are player spec within my collection, this is the only shirt that I've got that's got squad numbers on the sleeves. So it's something that I'm really, really happy with. As you can see, there is quite a lot of damage going on here. These numbers, believe it or not, was actually white to start with, but now you can pretty much see is just the black, and that's kind of like the under vinyl that's still intact, whereas the white, it just kind of picks and, all I have to do is touch it and a little bit more kind of crumbles off. So yeah, that's the squad number 7 on here. Above that, we've got the Rugby Football League 13 competition patch, if you like. I don't think it was officially a competition patch, but it was applied to a lot of these shirts across all of the clubs in this era. Let's go on to the other side, and like I said, it is very, very similar on this one as well, but we will have a look at it because again, you can kind of see elements of damage to this one as well. For a shirt that's as old as it is, these vinyls can be sort of troublesome to maintain to a high standard, and the shirt as it is now is how it has kind of come into my collection. As you can see, that number 7 here really is starting to sort of, it's always peeling back on itself. And there's obviously multiple layers that are going on to the vinyl here. I will pop some pictures up as well, because you might be able to tell, but I'm kind of struggling to hold this one in place where it's got like a crease in the sleeve there. But I will pop pictures up so you can kind of see this. But yeah, it's definitely sort of, just sort of peeling away from itself there. Again, this level of vinyl is very difficult to kind of protect. I'm assuming this shirt's probably been maybe worn or washed, or something's happened to it since it was used during that 93-94 season. Shirts like this, as I said, that they're hard to maintain the quality, if you like, and there is a really high chance that this has been worn somewhere else, but it still doesn't detach or take away from what it actually is. Okay, so that's the end of part 1 of this episode of Talking Shirts. We're going to have a quick break and a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll be back with the reverse.
White Oak Cottage is a 2-bedroom luxury holiday cottage set in the stunning Lincolnshire Wolds. It has 2 ensuite bedrooms, a hot tub, wood burner, Wi-Fi, electric vehicle charger, and is pet friendly. It is ideally situated in the Wolds, yet only 15 miles from the coast and 25 miles from the historic city of Lincoln. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Welcome back to episode number 154 of Talking Shirts. Before the break, we was talking our way around this 1993-1994 Hull KR away shirt, and we are now back with the reverse. So one point that I probably should have made in part 1 is that this is the original diamond shirt. In 2023, Hull KR went back to this idea to reproduce an alternate shirt featuring diamond elements, with the idea coming from this shirt. Now those diamonds, they all feature quite prominently on the back of this shirt, including this big blue one. Now, the blue one here, it is a diamond. It's kind of the bottom half of a diamond, so realistically you could argue that it's a triangle, but the idea is that it probably does continue. However, this does feature on the front, but what we don't necessarily notice so much is because on the front we have got an orange V and then a white V. I'll pop some pictures up, which kind of formulate within that design. Now they've taken those back, they've stripped those off the reverse, and I think that's so that the squad number can be applied in a way where it's not obstructed. Now, this one here has just got the one number on the back, but let's just say it was a number 11, 10, 12, 13, all the way up, whatever. It probably would kind of creep over into extra space on either side of it. However, when you've got a single digit applied like this one here in this number 7, I think it's really, really effective in the way that it just sits very nicely in that casing. So that leads us nicely onto this number 7. As you can see, it is kind of battered. Very similar to the numbers on the sleeves. There's an awful lot of perishing going on. It's kind of crumbling away. It's just one of those things. They're really, really difficult to maintain to a high standard. Within the number 7, you have got the match winner logo. So that would imply that the number was a match winner font set, if you like, opposed to it being a league-wide one. In this 93-94 season, I think Hawkeye played in the first division. So it will have been kind of up to the clubs to provide their own numbers back then. There isn't necessarily a typeface or a font set like you would expect now in the sort of, well, anywhere from 2007 onwards, really, with Hawkeye in that Super League era. So during this 1993-1994 season, Wayne Parker would have generally been the number 7. When I had a look back through some stats, Wayne played in almost every game of this season, including every away game. So he is probably the only player that did wear this shirt at some point. When you look back, Wayne had a fantastic career at Hawkeye, 2 spells, 245 appearances, 60-odd tries, 30-odd drop goals. I think he contributed close to 300 points towards the club in his career. Somebody who, in that 200 club, when you think about it, there's not that many players who represent Hawkeye or even any club for as long as he did, achieving 245 appearances. So, yeah, to be able to add a number 7 shirt into the collection, one which was sort of highly likely to have been worn by Wayne, who has quite an awful lot now to do with the Ex-Players Association, who do some absolutely fantastic work for local communities and charities. There's some really, really good people behind that organisation, and something which will hopefully go on from strength to strength. So yeah, that's been this 1993-1994 away shirt. Hope you've enjoyed your tour around it. A shirt that's very difficult to get to sit on the mannequin. When you think back, these shirts are a lot bigger and baggier than what you would expect to see in this modern era. As I've just mentioned, Wayne Parker will have probably have worn this, and it must have absolutely buried him. He's no small lad, but he's no big lad either, especially, when you consider it his fighting weight, if you like, when he'll be a rugby league player. So this one probably would even fit me, and obviously I'm a big lad too. So it's really, really hard to get these to sit on the mannequin. So I will try and put up as much photography as I can, so you can kind of get to see the shirt in all its glory, really. As I've said earlier, I didn't have a 93-94 shirt, away shirt, in the collection, so it's plugged a nice little gap. When I look back now up here, you can kind of see where I've taken this one from. I'm starting to get quite a few in that sort of 70s, 80s, even the 90s era now, which they're the ones that are the hardest to find. I'm fortunate enough to be able to get quite a lot of the sort of modern day ones, but yeah, trying to find some of these, and you've kind of got to have some deep pockets to be able to do that as well. So yeah, more than happy to kind of offset a little bit if I need to try and sort of, splash the cash and get something which is unique and rare within the collection, something which is kind of having to happen more and more frequently now as the collection grows and grows. Yeah, so that's everything for episode 154. Thank you very much for checking it out with us today. Hope you've enjoyed watching this episode. Please feel free to check back in a fortnight, where I'll be back with a brand new episode of Talking Shirts. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.